Have you ever wondered why you keep repeating the same mistakes, even after promising yourself you would never do it again? Why you fall into the same kind of relationships, meet the same kind of people, and end up with the same familiar pain? Or why emotions erupt inside you, anger, jealousy, fear that you cannot control, and later regret? Do you feel that there is a part of yourself you can never quite reach? A shadow that lingers, silently pulling the strings of your thoughts, your emotions, your actions. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And perhaps it is the unconscious, the shadow, that holds the answers. In this video, we begin a journey. The journey Jung called shadow work, the work of facing the darkness within. It is not an easy journey because it forces you to look directly at what you have denied, suppressed, and feared. But it is precisely in that place where you can find strength, healing, and true freedom. So my question to you is this: do you dare to face the shadow within, to discover the part of yourself you abandoned long ago? If your answer is yes, write it boldly in the comments below as a declaration. I am ready. This will not just be a line of text. It will be the very first step on your path of facing and transforming yourself. To understand shadow work, we first need to understand the man behind the concept: Carl Gustav Jung. Jung was a Swiss psychiatrist, a pioneer in psychology, and at one point a close collaborator of Sigmund Freud. But while Freud believed that human behavior was primarily driven by sexual and aggressive instincts, Jung took a different path. He believed that beneath our daily awareness lies a vast and mysterious world, the unconscious mind, and that within it we find not only repressed memories, but also the key to our transformation. One of Jung's most important contributions is the concept of the shadow. The shadow is not some external darkness, but the hidden side of ourselves, the traits, desires, and emotions we reject, deny, or repress. It includes the anger we don't want to admit, the envy we're ashamed of, the desires we suppress to appear good, and even the talents we bury because they don't fit into society's mold. Jung taught that ignoring the shadow does not make it disappear. On the contrary, it grows stronger in the dark, shaping our behaviors and choices without us even realizing it. This is why Jung famously said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." So what is shadow work? Shadow work is the process of bringing this hidden side into the light of awareness. It is the act of turning toward the very parts of yourself that you've been running away from. Instead of denying your anger, you ask what it's trying to teach you. Instead of repressing fear, you learn to listen to it. Instead of projecting your own wounds onto others, you begin to take responsibility for them. Jung believed that shadow work is not about becoming perfect, but about becoming whole. Only by integrating the shadow can we move toward what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming who we truly are. This is not just a psychological task. It is, in many ways, the spiritual work of a lifetime. So when we speak of Carl Jung shadow work and healing, psychology for inner transformation, we are speaking of a journey into the hidden side of the self. It is a path of courage, honesty, and ultimately liberation. Because when we face the shadow, we no longer need to live in fear of it. We can transform it into wisdom, creativity, and power. If we do not recognize and heal the shadow, it will continue to silently direct our lives. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." What does this mean? It means that the parts of yourself you deny, the wounds you hide, the memories you repress, none of them disappear. They continue to live inside you. They sink deeper into the unconscious and express themselves through behaviors and choices you think are random. Have you noticed that those who are quick to anger are often those who carry a deep fear of being hurt? Those who constantly judge others often conceal deep feelings of inadequacy. Those who endlessly chase love outside are often the ones who never learned how to love themselves. This is how the shadow works. It shapes our lives quietly, in the background, and if we never face it, we remain trapped in repeating cycles of pain. So, why is healing the shadow so important? Because only when we dare to face it can we truly understand ourselves. When we confront anger, we discover the need for protection behind it. When we examine envy, we uncover a hidden desire to live our own dreams. When we accept fear, we begin to learn humility and the strength of trust. Healing the shadow does not mean eliminating it. No one can erase their darkness. It means integrating it, bringing it into balance so it no longer controls us, but instead becomes a source of strength. Just as day and night coexist, as light and darkness define each other, so too must we embrace both sides of ourselves. Only then can we become whole. This is why healing the shadow is foundational in Jung's vision of individuation, the process of becoming your true, whole self. Without healing, you live only half a life, a shadow of yourself. But when you dare to enter this journey, you begin to live a life that is fully, authentically yours. Inside each of us, there is a side we rarely want to face. Jung called it the shadow, and it is much closer than we think. It is not hidden in some distant corner of the universe. It lives in our reactions, in the way we envy a colleague's success, in the anger that erupts when someone disrespects us, in the secret shame that we never dare to confess. Think of a person who constantly seeks approval, always saying yes, always afraid of disappointing others. On the surface, they may seem kind and accommodating, but beneath that mask, the shadow whispers, "I am terrified of being rejected. I am afraid I am not enough." Their true motivation is not generosity, but fear. And unless they see this shadow, they will continue to live trapped in roles, unable to experience true freedom. Or imagine a man who becomes aggressive whenever he feels criticized. He shouts, dominates conversations, even bullies others. People may see him as strong, but inside, his shadow hides a fragile child who never felt accepted. His anger is not power. It is a mask covering deep insecurity. Jung taught that these hidden truths, once acknowledged, can become powerful opportunities for awakening. The moment you stop running from your shadow, you begin to understand its message. Anger can teach you about boundaries. Envy can show you what you truly desire. Fear can remind you of your need for humility and faith. He often compared the shadow to gold buried in the dark earth. To find it, you must get your hands dirty. Dig where no one else dares to dig. And yet, what you uncover there is the treasure of transformation. There is a story from ancient myth that illustrates this truth. A young hero enters a dark cave to face a terrifying dragon. At first, the dragon seems undefeatable, a symbol of death and destruction. But when the hero confronts it with courage, he discovers that the dragon was guarding a golden crown. The treasure could only be found by facing the monster. This is the same with our shadow. Behind the fear lies hidden potential. Behind the pain lies our deepest strength. But here is the challenge. Most people avoid this journey. They choose comfort over truth, distraction over honesty. They scroll endlessly, chase pleasures, or build false identities, anything to avoid looking inward. And in doing so, they remain asleep. Jung's warning is clear. The shadow does not vanish simply because we ignore it. In fact, the less we face it, the more it grows, shaping our destiny in unconscious ways. But if we choose to face it, the shadow becomes a doorway to awakening. So ask yourself, what part of me have I been running away from? What emotion, memory, or desire do I bury so deeply that I pretend it isn't there? If you dare to look honestly at these questions, you have already taken the first step. You are no longer asleep. You are beginning to awaken. Facing yourself is one of the hardest things a human being can do. To face yourself means daring to look at the parts you've long hidden, the fears, the weaknesses, the mistakes, and even the desires you never admitted out loud. Yet Jung believed that only by facing yourself can you discover true strength. Think of a person who constantly runs away from loneliness. They fear being alone, fear the emptiness, so they fill their days with endless work, relationships, or distractions. But in avoiding loneliness, they lose the chance to truly listen to themselves. The moment they finally sit in silence and face that emptiness, they realize something profound. Beneath the void lies a deep longing to connect authentically, to live as their true self. That realization is the beginning of transformation. There is a small story that illustrates this. A student once asked his teacher, "How can I become stronger?" The teacher did not answer with the words, but handed him a mirror. "Look into it," he said. The student gazed at his own reflection and saw not only light, but also trembling and darkness in his eyes. The teacher smiled. "Only when you see both, the light and the shadow, will you begin to know real strength." The power of facing yourself lies in this. It turns fear into wisdom, weakness into compassion, and wounds into inner strength. Someone who has endured painful failure, once they dare to face it, can become a source of inspiration for others. Someone who has lived with shame, once they embrace it, can become a pillar for those struggling in silence. Jung called this process individuation, the journey of becoming whole. To be whole does not mean to be flawless or without mistakes. It means to be a person who embraces both light and darkness, because only by accepting both can you truly own yourself. Many of us fear facing ourselves because we believe we will only see weakness. But the truth is the opposite. When we face fear, we discover courage. When we face anger, we find the strength to set boundaries. When we face envy, we uncover our true desires. Facing yourself is not about blaming or punishing. It is about honesty. And this radical honesty opens the door to freedom. Have you ever tried to sit down and ask yourself, what part of me do I fear the most? What part of me have I avoided the longest? The answers may shake you, but remember, the moment you admit them, you are already stronger than you were before. Facing yourself is a turning point. It is like holding a torch and walking into the dark basement of your soul. At first, you see only frightening shapes, but as the light spreads, you realize that what you feared all along were simply forgotten parts of yourself. And once you embrace them, you become whole. Living authentically. On the surface, it sounds simple, but in truth, it is one of the greatest challenges of human life. From childhood, most of us have been taught to live for others, to meet expectations, to fit into society, to wear masks in order to be accepted, and in doing so, we lose touch with the inner voice of the soul. Carl Jung believed that the journey of healing the shadow ultimately leads us to one destination: wholeness and authenticity. This means we no longer live only through the social self, the part of us that craves approval, but we dare to show our true self, even if that means being different, misunderstood, or even standing alone. So how do we begin to live authentically? Here are some practices you can start today. Practice 1. Observation and journaling. Shadow journaling. Whenever you feel a strong emotion, anger, jealousy, fear, Instead of repressing or judging it, write it down. Ask yourself, what is this emotion really saying about me? What truth am I unwilling to admit? Over time, these notes will reveal the landscape of your shadow, and that is the first step to embracing it. Practice 2. Dialogue with the inner child. Sit quietly, close your eyes, and imagine meeting yourself as a 6 or 7-year-old child. Ask, what are you afraid of? What do you need from me? You may be surprised to discover that many of your current reactions, fear of rejection, fear of failure, are echoes of the wounds of this inner child. By listening and offering comfort, you begin to heal at the root. Practice 3. Mindful meditation and emotional acceptance. Instead of running from sadness or anger, sit with it. Watch it rise and fall like a cloud passing across the sky. Don't label it as good or bad. Simply acknowledge, this is anger. This is fear. When you no longer drown in your emotions, you learn how to master them. Practice 4. Root questioning. Whenever you have a strong reaction to someone, pause and ask, is this truly about them, or is this a part of me I've been denying? For example, if you despise someone's arrogance, perhaps you are suppressing your own healthy confidence. Seeing this helps you understand yourself more deeply. Practice 5. Small acts of authenticity. Living authentically doesn't require drastic change overnight. It can begin with small daily acts, speaking your true thoughts, choosing work aligned with your values, or simply daring to say no when you mean it. Each small act is a brick in the bridge that leads you back to your true self. Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. To achieve this, you must dare to remove the masks, stop running from your shadow, and step onto the path of truth." And remember, living authentically is not selfish. It is the only way you can give the world the gift of your true, whole, and vibrant self. When you live authentically, you not only heal yourself, you become a mirror, a source of inspiration for others to begin their own journey. So let me ask you, today, are you willing to take one small step toward living more authentically? If your answer is yes, write it boldly in the comments below as a commitment. I am ready. There comes a moment in life when you realize that time is slipping through your fingers. Days blur into weeks, weeks into months, and suddenly years are gone. You wake up one morning and ask yourself, what have I truly lived for? Carl Jung warned us of this very danger. The danger of living unconsciously, of letting the shadow rule us without ever bringing it to light. To Jung, this is the greatest waste of life. Not mistakes, not failures, but the refusal to live consciously, the refusal to become who you truly are. Wasting life does not always look dramatic. It can look like endless scrolling, chasing validation, staying in jobs that drain your soul, maintaining relationships that suffocate you, or wearing masks so long that you forget what your real face looks like. Each of these is a quiet erosion of your spirit. Why do we waste life? Because facing the shadow is terrifying. It's easier to distract ourselves than to confront the emptiness inside. It's easier to play roles than to risk rejection for showing our true self. Society rewards the mask. It applauds conformity. It praises shallow success. And so we trade authenticity for comfort, truth for approval. But as Jung said, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Yet this is also the only way to stop the silent bleeding of our time and energy. How do we stop wasting our lives? 1. Bring the unconscious to light. Begin noticing your patterns. Where do you keep repeating the same mistakes? Where do you feel stuck? These are not accidents. They are invitations from your shadow. Journaling, therapy, or even deep self-reflection can uncover the roots. 2. Face discomfort instead of numbing it. Every time you feel an urge to escape into distraction, whether it's social media, overwork, or unhealthy habits, pause. Ask, what am I really avoiding right now? Choosing to sit with discomfort even for a few minutes begins to reclaim wasted time. 3. Redefine success. Society tells us success is money, titles, appearances. Jung reminds us that true success is individuation, becoming whole, living authentically. To stop wasting life, you must redefine what matters. Is it living in alignment with your values? Is it nurturing relationships that uplift you? Is it creating something that outlives you? 4. Set boundaries with courage. Much of life is wasted in saying yes when we mean no. Every false yes erodes your authenticity. Begin practicing small numbers, with people, with activities, with commitments that drain you. Each boundary protects your energy for what truly matters. 5. Practice daily rituals of awakening. Small practices keep you awake. Morning meditation, evening reflection, mindful breathing, or simply walking in silence. These rituals remind you that life is happening now, not tomorrow. They stop the unconscious drift into wasted days. 6. Take one authentic step each day. Living authentically is not about a dramatic overhaul, it's about consistent small steps. Speak one truth you've been holding back. Do one act aligned with your values. Each step is a declaration. I will not waste this day. A story of awakening. There was once a man who had spent decades chasing promotions, wealth, and recognition. To the world, he looked successful, yet inside, he felt hollow. One day, while staring at his own reflection, he realized he did not recognize the man in the mirror. The roles had consumed him. In that painful moment, he chose differently. He left behind what no longer fed his soul and began to paint, something he had loved as a child but abandoned long ago. For the first time, he felt alive. This story is not rare. Many of us may not leave everything behind, but we all reach a mirror moment, the point where we must choose, continue wasting life or begin living it. The call to act now. Stopping the waste of life is not about regret for the past. It is about courage in the present. Jung teaches us that even the shadow, once integrated, becomes a source of vitality. The very wounds that caused us to waste time can become the fuel for transformation. So I ask you, where in your life are you wasting precious time and energy? What mask, habit, or fear keeps you from living authentically? If you are ready to reclaim your life, write it in the comments below as a declaration. I choose to live fully. This is not just a sentence. It is a promise to yourself. And perhaps it is the beginning of the most important journey you will ever take. And so, in this journey we have taken together, we have walked from recognizing the shadow to understanding why it exists, to seeing why healing it is essential. We have faced the challenge of confronting ourselves, and we've explored how to live authentically, no longer wasting the precious gift of life. Carl Jung left us a profound legacy, the reminder that life is not meant to be lived unconsciously, not meant to be spent repeating old tragedies, but to become who we truly are. He once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Living authentically is not a short journey. It is the work of a lifetime, at times difficult, at times lonely, but always worthwhile. Because when you dare to look into your shadow, you realize that darkness is not only fear, it is also the place where your hidden treasures lie. Strength, compassion, creativity, and freedom. Remember, none of us are perfect and none of us need to be. What we need is wholeness. the acceptance of both light and darkness, both our strengths and our wounds. That acceptance is what brings true liberation. So let me leave you with one question. If today were your last day, could you truly say you have lived fully? If not, then let this moment be your beginning. If this journey has spoken to you, write it in the comments below as a declaration. I choose to live authentically. Let that be your first step on the path ahead. Thank you for walking with me to the very end of this video. May you find not only knowledge in these words, but also a spark of remembrance that you're worthy of a whole, authentic life. I wish you peace, clarity, and the courage to keep walking your path.